Eight Nation WFA National Championship is powered by edX and Eight Nation, the official sports drink of the WFA. 17 Division II teams started back in April with one goal in mind: to make it here to championship weekend in Canton, Ohio. Welcome to the Women's Football Alliance Division II National Championship game. With me is Alex Wested, the most elite mind in women's football. I'm Brian Sweeney. In the broadcast booth today, we want to talk about how Salt Lake led Division II in rushing all season, whereas Baltimore led Division II in passing.
Well, two teams, Brian, with very different approaches in the offensive side of the game. Salt Lake is a team that will run the ball down your throat. They'll take advantage of miscues, especially in the front seven. Meanwhile, Baltimore, a more traditional style in what we see in today's professional game. Pass heavy and uses that run game as a complement rather than its foundational piece.
And this is going to be a great game with the opportunity for the winner of this game to go on to the Pro Division in 2026. Coin toss has happened. We're ready to go down to the field and get things going. But Alex, if you want to throw us to the tail of the tape really quick before the kickoff.
Well, two teams that are so close in terms of where their stats rank, specifically in points per game, both in the top three in the WFA Division II, but also the yardage, both near the top. Salt Lake, second in WFA Division II. Baltimore coming in third.
So Salt Lake getting ready to kick us off. Here in beautiful Canton, Ohio, we got a little bit of weather that might move in a little bit later on, but lightning, as you looked, stayed well south of Canton here, so we should be go. 85 degrees right now is our kickoff temperature here at 6:30 p.m. So Salt Lake going to kick it off to the Nighthawks. And we are underway with a short kick. And this one's going to get behind the player. That's Alston of the Nighthawks running the wrong direction. And she's going to get taken down at about the 11-yard line. So Baltimore, with their first possession of the game, Alex, is going to be first and 10 from their own 11.
Well, in Alston, this is a ball that takes a tough hop on her in order to be able to get a spot to get a good return here to begin. Baltimore, I think, coming into this game, Brian, wanted to start on offense, because when you look at this matchup, Baltimore needs to match the pace and match the points that Salt Lake is able to put up.
And as you look at that video footage there of the Wildcats jerseys, it's going to make it difficult to call the game nonetheless, especially from about 400 feet away from the field up here. So, cameramen, you got your jobs cut out for you today, and we appreciate that you're down there getting this footage for us to use. So number 3, Lauren Batak, the quarterback for Baltimore, waits the snap. She's got one running back to her left. Receiver split, 2 up high, 2 down low. Zerobo in motion, ball handed off right away. Gonna get back to the original line of scrimmage, and that was Alston once again, the running back that got that yardage.
Baltimore team rushing-wise, again, in terms of what they do per game, 151.7 yards per game, 7th of the Division II teams. They'll have to continue to run the ball against a team in Salt Lake that does not give up many points. In fact, in the postseason round, just 20 total points surrendered.
And both these teams come into this game undefeated on the season, both 6-0 in the regular season and 2-0 in the postseason as well. Salt Lake, their first season in the Women's Football Alliance. Baltimore around for a number of years here in the national championship game, looking to make a statement win. Ball snapped off, handed to Alston right away. She finds a hole on the left-hand side. She's going to get up. Looks like she's going to have enough for a first down. She is going to move the chains. So it's going to be first down for Baltimore.
And if there's one thing Baltimore can do with this ground game, it tires out a Salt Lake team that is not as deep in terms of numbers as what Baltimore is. And so when you keep that tempo up, you keep the offensive ability and keep your players moving quickly, a good opportunity to keep a tired Salt Lake team on both sides of the field.
Sam Gordon with the tackle there for the Wildcats after Alston gets the first down. So first and 10 from Baltimore after moving the chains from their own 18-yard line. Ziobro in motion. This time the ball is going to be handed off in the backfield to Rashida Ford. Rashida Ford moves up the right-hand side. Going to pick up about 8 yards on that carry before she's taken down. Going to be second down.
Well, after a first run from scrimmage today for Baltimore, that wasn't a big chunk play. Back-to-back great runs for Baltimore, finding success on the outside edge. Something for Salt Lake to keep advantage of and to try to use against Baltimore, and that aggressiveness attacking to the outside edge early.
And that was actually Ross on the carry there. My apologies to her for getting that one wrong. 2nd down and 1 for Baltimore, moving right to left across your screen. Ziobro in motion. Handed off again, this time to Ross. Ross is going to get a little bit, but she's going to pick up another first down for the Nighthawks. And Alex, they're doing what they need to do all season long. It was Salt Lake that led the league in rushing, but Baltimore's coming out here so far this game, and they're running every rushing play.
And an advantage in game planning as well for Baltimore, knowing that you have a recipe for what is expected of you. And so far here on this first possession, the Nighthawks going against what's expected of them here.
So Vitak waits the snap. Snap is up. She's going to drop back. Going to be the first pass attempt of the game. This one is going to be caught. What a great catch by Leanne Ziobro, the tight end for the Nighthawks, to move the chains past midfield.
Well, a good simple go route here for Ziobro. And this is a ball that for Vitak, she doesn't have a lot of room to be able to find this ball. Great coverage defensively by Salt Lake in that secondary, and just a perfect pass into the hands of Ziobro as she moves in to Salt Lake's side of midfield.
Ziobro almost lost her helmet there. You saw in the replay, chin strap up around the nose, forehead area there. But 1st and 10 for the Nighthawks on the Wildcats side of the field, and looks like we're going to have our first timeout of the game, and it's going to be Baltimore calling their first timeout. So interesting decision here, Alex, to call a timeout so early in the game, and we saw a lot of that in the Division III championship as well, with timeouts being burned early in the first quarter and then not having anything left to finish out the half.
Well, and I think for Baltimore, this is a chance to make a statement drive and make a statement early. And so when you have, so far, the Nighthawks have done a great job moving the ball, 3 first downs on this drive already. You want to make sure that you're on Salt Lake's side of the field, you're moving the ball with possession and with authority. And you have to make sure that everything's perfect and crisp so you find the ball in the end zone.
So Michael Lynn, head coach of Baltimore, and there you just saw Sean Gates, the head coach and part of the team ownership of the Wildcats there in that video footage. And these two teams did not meet in the regular season, obviously, but there's a good history of players coming from other divisions, other leagues as well. So 1st down and 10 for the Nighthawks. Vitak drops back. She's going to throw one wide to her left, and this one's just going to be a little bit in front of the intended receiver, Tanya Bates. And Alex, that was a good statement throw. You can see right away that Vitak is trying to mix it up, pass throw, and catch the Wildcats off guard.
Well, I love the play call. I love the offensive structure decision by Baltimore on that play. Just going with that run on the outside, trying to create that straight flat on the near side of the field. Good design play, but a miscue. The first perhaps for Baltimore so far.
2nd down and 10. Baltimore. Vitak. This time, quick little throw up the middle, and what a great grab. This time, Bates is able to pull it in and move the chains once again. Another first down for Baltimore.
There may be nothing finer in the game of American tackle football than a well-executed slant route. And for Bates, it's exactly what she does here. Perfect pocket protection delivered by Baltimore, and a ball only where Bates could get to it, even if she had to go up the ladder to do so. Great offensive play calling by the Nighthawks.
Gordon with the tackle there prevented Bates from getting some additional yards. Chains are moved, 1st and 10 from the Wildcats 33-yard line here. Vitak's got her tight end in motion. Takes the snap back. Going to hand it off right away, this time to Alston. Alston's not going to get much room. They're actually going to say that she lost about 2 yards on the play. So after some successful movement of the ball, now Baltimore finds themselves at 2nd and 12.
Well, good defensive adjustment here by Salt Lake. You can see on the lines for Baltimore's pulling back, trying to get some separation there, but Salt Lake, relentless pursuit on the outside edge. Great adjustment by Salt Lake defensively.
Huddles break. You have 1 receiver near side, 3 up high. Alston stands in the backfield by Vitak. Vitak's going to keep the ball herself, calls her own number, runs up the middle, and she runs into a bunch of Wildcats, including Sydney Burns with that stop.
Well, simple quarterback draw play. Again, you're faking the pass, dropping back, waiting for that line to either go back or collapse on you. Vitak chooses to keep it herself, but now an opportunity on 3rd down where Salt Lake might be able to get out of the field. Yes, it's been a long drive for Baltimore so far, 6 minutes of game time, but Salt Lake has the opportunity to get off the field unscathed here.
Picked up about a yard on that play. 3rd down and 12. Vitak is going to throw it again. Throws it across the field, and this time it's in and out of the hands of Bates. Great coverage that time by Howell for the Wildcats.
And there again, that slant that worked well earlier for the Nighthawks on this drive. Just get enough separation, trust your receiver to make the play. It falls into the hands of Bates and just unable to corral it with great defensive pressure on the opposite side by Archuleta.
Great coverage there by Archuleta. Brings up our first 4th down of the game. Clock moving very well so far this game. 8 minutes and 50 seconds remaining here in the first quarter, and the Nighthawks looking to go for it on 4th down. Vitak calls the Obro in motion. Vitak drops back, looking to her right. She's got a wide open receiver, and it's going to be close to the 1st down. We're going to have to see where they mark it. That was Pellegrini with that reception.
Well, Pellegrini, who led the Nighthawks in receiving yards this year, 470 for Baltimore. Good out route, good play to the outside, and it'll be a 1st down for Baltimore on a play that from this vantage point I thought was not going to have the distance, but just enough done by Baltimore to extend a drive.
So Pellegrini gets her name stated and credited for that 1st down. Vitak having a good game so far. Completions to the left, up the middle, and the right. This time she has 1 receiver to her right, 2 to her left. Ziobro in motion. Takes the snap, hands it off to Alston. Alston goes up the middle.
Perhaps what's most importantly on this drive, Brian, for Baltimore, you're keeping the Salt Lake offense off the field. You're now playing almost half of this first quarter with the ball in the Baltimore Nighthawks' hands.
Well, you talk about the offense of the Wildcats. I mean, there was a time this season where across all of the Women's Football Alliance, they led in the Massey ratings, even ahead of the top-tier pro teams. Gain of 2 on that play, 2nd down and 8. Snap is up. Looks like it was handed off to Ross. Ross is going to run into some traffic in the middle of the field.
Once again, stopped by Vic.
And again, for Baltimore, thinking about this play calling here in this situation on a 3rd down and 7, your playbook is open. You don't need that full 7 now because you know that you can kick a field goal here just to get some points out of the drive. But with just how long this drive has gone on for Baltimore, keep the ball on the ground and keep that clock running.
Yeah, over 50% of the first quarter has already gone by, and Wildcats offense just standing there on the sideline wondering when it's going to be their turn. Vitak drops back. She's going to throw it up the middle, and this time it's just out of the reach of Pellegrini. Pellegrini, with the angle that she was going, had enough to get it into the end zone had she pulled that ball down.
Well, now you think about it here on 4th down. Do you go for the field goal, or do you keep the offense on the field? The big thing against Salt Lake is that they have a small roster that plays a lot of both sides of the field. And so if you keep that defense on the field and even extend this drive further, a 4th down attempt here is not the worst decision, win or lose on it.
looks like they are going to go for it here on 4th down and 7. Right on the edge of the red zone, 20-yard line of the Wildcats. And we're going to get our first plays of the game.
Baltimore backing up already on a flag that could have gone either way.
False start, number 73 on the offense. 5 yards penalty from the previous spot. Repeat, 4th down.
So the Nighthawks were trying to get the Wildcats to jump there, wanted to get the easy 5 yards, backfired on them this time. Elect to still go for it on 4th down. 4th down and 12 for Vitak and the rest of the Nighthawks offense. Vitak takes the snap. She's going to throw it. She's got a receiver open in the middle. This one's going to be intercepted. It's in and out of the hands of their intended receiver, and it's going to be picked up by the Wildcats. And they're going to get all the way back up to the 34-yard line, and that is Laura Gates of the Wildcats with the interception.
Gates with 3 regular season interceptions, and the benefactor of a tip ball off the hand of a Baltimore receiver. Again, for a drive for the Nighthawks that was moving so well, a good, well-read route by Vitak, but just out of the reach, and an even better tip by Lamprecht to set it up for Vitak, and just, oh, what a great play by Salt Lake.
Gates, the benefactor of that tip ball, and stays out onto the field as she is the quarterback for Salt Lake. So right away, they're going to hand it off. Breaks through up the middle. Sam Gordon, the ball carrier. Going to pick up about 4 yards on that play. 2nd down and 6.
Well, if there's anybody that new fans of women's tackle football might know, it's Sam Gordon. A very large social media following and highlights that abound. All sorts of social media.
Super Bowl commercials, you name it. Sam has been involved in it already in her young age. This time, it's a pitch to the right-hand side. Cuts back to the left, going to get up past the line of scrimmage. Going to gain about 2 yards on that play. And once again, that's Gordon, the ball carrier.
Gordon was a rushing threat all season long, team leader with 747 rushing yards. In terms of Division II, behind Kiana Williams of the Cincinnati Cougars, just by about 250 yards. A very, very good runner, and certainly Baltimore's biggest test today.
3rd down and 3 for Salt Lake in their blue on blue. Gates takes the snap, hands it off. Right away, that's Jadisy Vick, the ball carrier, and she's going to pick up the first down of the game for the Wildcats.
Well, as much as Baltimore went against what their expectation was on their first drive, Salt Lake right now showing us exactly what we expected to see. A run-heavy offense, run so far for the Wildcats.
And they've already got the ball all the way up to the 45-yard line. This time, going to be Gordon straight up the middle. He'll pick up a few yards. They'll bring up 2nd down and 6. Great shot of the fans out here in Canton, Ohio. Alex, you came to the area Wednesday. I got here yesterday, and every year that we come to this stadium, it is so great to see how much more the area is building up and things to do when you're not watching the women here on the gridiron. So Vick gets the handoff. Going to get a couple more yards. Going to bring up 3rd and 2 for the Wildcats.
And that here the goal for Salt Lake. Use that running game to punish the Baltimore defense. Get them into that sense of false security, you know, where you're expecting run, and then eventually set up that big over-the-top stretch pass play.
Well, we'll see if Laura Gates agrees with your analogy there. And so 3rd down and a quick 2. But no, Gordon's going to break up the middle. She's going to have enough for a 1st down. She's taken down by Baltimore's Alexandra Husband, but not after picking up a 1st down and moving the sticks. And we do have a Wildcats player injured there on the field, Alex.
Well, still same recipe here for Salt Lake. Get the ball, run the ball, and make Baltimore make a stop. It's been a very good series of play on this opening drive for Salt Lake. And we talked about how Baltimore needed to match each possession that Salt Lake had. And so far, they've done that, but they need a defensive stop here.
And that's Vic, the injured Wildcat player that's being tended to on the field there. Staff out, making sure that Vic is okay. And Vic, number 2 rusher for the Wildcats this year with 321 yards on 27 carries, 6 touchdowns, tying Sam Gordon in the regular season.
Well, and you see that too now, Brian, how so much of running backs in terms of the WFA, really you have to have complementary styles. You can have all the same style of running back, but it's good to have that variety. It's good to have that depth of what you might be able to see. And so for Salt Lake being able to have different types of runners, different styles of runners, it bodes well for their offense. And clearly with the results they've had this year, the points they've put up indicate that as well.
Yeah, Wildcats averaging 57.8 points per game in the regular season. And I mean, that's spectacular on a total of 2,500 offensive yards.
Well, and for a first-year team as well in Salt Lake, yes, they've had players with experience elsewhere, but this is still something that's incredible to see for a first-year team at the WFA.
We're going to take this time, we're going to throw it down to the third member of our broadcast crew, Susie Cool, down on the sidelines. Susie?
Hey guys, you mentioned that Super Bowl commercial that Sam Gordon was in, so I want to tell you who she was alongside. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana. Do I need to say more to say how credible this girl had become due to her YouTube videos? Looking back now, Gordon said that she can't believe everything that came from those videos actually happened. Sometimes it still seems surreal to her, but the experiences she gained go far beyond football. Brian?
Thanks, Susie. And Gordon, we talk about her, and she gets that handoff right away on that first and 10 situation and picks up a quick 7 for the Wildcats, 2nd down and 3. And it was a great Super Bowl commercial. It was great to see that somebody on the West Coast is able to garner that much attention for the NFL, because it's going to do great things for the Women's Football Alliance.
Well, and some people say West Coast, best coast, and right now for Gordon, including this run, she's been on fire. 6 runs for 37 yards.
And a great breakaway there, getting away from a few tackles. That was Gates calling her own number, and she found a hole on the right-hand side, moved the ball up the field, picks up about 16 yards on that play, and going to be a fresh set of downs, 1st down for the Wildcats.
And so tough for Baltimore to try to plan against when you have multiple runners, and like I said a few moments ago, multiple runners that have different styles. Very, very difficult to game plan against.
So we're still waiting to see if Vic's going to make it back into the game. She's sitting on the bench, but this time it's going to be Gordon up the middle getting the handoff, and she's going to pick up about another 5 yards. And the Wildcats are doing what they need to do here, Alex. They're just chipping away, short yardage, short yardage, short yardage, moving themselves down the field.
And I said it in our introduction, this is a team in Salt Lake that runs the ball down your throat and makes you make them stop. And so that is so much easier said than done. And we're seeing it here on this first drive. You get that momentum swinging interception by Gates, and now you've turned it into run, 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 run. Now 9 plays on this drive already for Salt Lake.
We got Bridget Howell, the injured Wildcat right now, that's down sitting on the field getting tended to, and you don't want to see that. I mean, you talked a little bit when the Baltimore Nighthawks had the ball and how so many players on Salt Lake play both sides of the ball. And that is something that can wear a player down. You're more prone to injuries. So we hope that we don't see this trend continue throughout the rest of this game.
And what I think long-term for Salt Lake, even if there may be injuries here in this game, just the showing they've had this season for people in the Salt Lake area, that's a good recruiting tool, because already you have this limited players, and look at how good you are. Because if you're in Salt Lake and you say, well, hey, I want to be a part of that, I imagine that they would take you and add you to that team just to add to the depth of talent.
So this time they're going to get another 1st down as Gordon breaks a couple tackles, and she gets down to the 2-yard line. So 1st and goal for Salt Lake from the 2-yard line on their opening possession.
And a simple run by Gordon. Follow your blockers and make Baltimore stop you.
You know, we talk about the success Salt Lake had this season. They actually played and beat the Nevada Storm of the Pro Division by a score of 60-8, which is absolutely crazy to think about. This time they're going to keep the ball, and Gates is in for the touchdown, and the Wildcats are on the board first.
Well, on her Instagram, she says she is the team owner, and right now she is owning this football field. A two-time All-Pro in another league. Just a great drive from Salt Lake to begin their offensive possessions. Follow your blocking. Some people would call it the quarterback keeper, and it's just right up the middle over the goal line. Well-executed play and a great starting drive for Salt Lake.
And Salt Lake's got Brinley Debbie lined up for the point after. The kick is up, and it is no good. So the 1:03 remaining here in the first quarter, Salt Lake takes their opening possession down the field and puts 6 on the board. They're up over the Baltimore Nighthawks by a score of 6-0.
Well, on a Salt Lake drive, Brian, that started at their own 34-yard line, 11 plays, 66 yards down the field. Run the ball down your throat and make them make a stop. You mentioned that win that they had against the Nevada Storm. You don't normally see, let alone first-year programs, but you don't normally see Division II teams beating WFA Pro teams. Just goes to show you how for real Salt Lake appears to be. And certainly that first offensive drive, we have to believe that here based on what we saw.
And it's got to be a little disheartening for Baltimore. They were moving the ball so well down the field before that interception, and then to have the Wildcats take the result of that interception, drive the length of the field, and get on the scoreboard first. In a game that we're probably not going to see a lot of possessions by either team.
Well, and a lot of times you'll say never kick a sad field goal, but if you're Baltimore, you think about it there just to get some points on the board, because now Salt Lake plays with a lead, and we know what they do when they have that lead.
So this time, Anna Melton, the running back for Baltimore, is going to pick up that kick, and she's going to break out of the left-hand side, make it up to about the 22-yard line before she's taken down by the Wildcats. And Baltimore has got to get something together on this drive, because you cannot let Salt Lake continue to score on you.
Well, and it's not like, you know, on that first possession, it's not like Baltimore didn't have a chance. They didn't have any opportunities. 14 plays, 69 yards. They had the ball. They possessed the ball. They moved the ball well. Now it's just on the second offensive drive, how do you execute to be able to put the ball in the end zone where you couldn't on your first drive?
So Baltimore, second possession of the game. 53 seconds remaining here in the first quarter. 1st and 10 from their own 22-yard line. Vitak takes the snap. He's going to hand it off right away. Player's going to run up the center of the field. That's Tanya Bates, excuse me. He runs into a few Wildcats, but she's going to pick up 5 yards before she's stopped.
And so if Baltimore wants to keep giving Salt Lake a taste of their own medicine with the running the ball up the middle, keep rolling with that. Keep doing that and giving yourself an opportunity to force Salt Lake to stay on the field.
Vitak takes the snap, hands it off. This time we're going nowhere. Nowhere for Ross to go as she runs into the Nighthawks right away.
But again, still, you're fine with that for Baltimore. Keep running the football and tiring out this defense for Salt Lake.
We've reached the end of the first quarter here at the Women's Football Alliance Division II National Championship game from Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in beautiful Canton, Ohio. Your score at the end of one, Salt Lake Wildcats 6, Baltimore Nighthawks 0. The Women's Football Alliance National Championships are sponsored by Aid Nation, the official sports drink of the WFA and edX. Welcome back to Canton, Ohio. The start of the second quarter. I'm Brian Sweeney. With me is Alex Wested. 6-0. Salt Lake leading over Baltimore. And Baltimore has the ball, moving now left to right across your screen. Vitak takes the snap, hands it off. Going to pick up a few yards on that play. Alston's going to get enough for a fresh set of downs, and it looks like we have another Wildcat player slow to get up, Alex.
And so now through a quarter of play, Brian, that first drive that took so much time, of that first quarter of play, you can really see what Baltimore's game plan was. Run the football, tire out Salt Lake. I mentioned, and you and I had a conversation on Road of Champions this week about how if you are Baltimore, play with tempo, play with pace. But this running the ball up the middle, too, is a whole different thing where it still tires you out. Might not have the pace that you're used to having, but it still tires you out, and you can see the impact on how that's affected Salt Lake so far.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit earlier. Here we are at the Hall of Fame, Tom Benson Stadium, and what is it? Today's Friday. 6 days from now, the NFL will be in this stadium kicking it off. Detroit Lions will be playing the Los Angeles Chargers. They'll always be San Diego to me.
That's a whole conversation for another time. I don't think we're ready for that conversation.
But not this weekend. This weekend, Tom Benson Hall of Fame, and the whole Hall of Fame village belongs to the Women's Football Alliance and these women out on the field.
Well, in the WFA's 5th season here at Tom Benson Hall of Fame, the Hall of Fame village, everybody has always been so kind and welcoming here. The one thing that I think of the best, and Donna Wilkinson mentioned it on the Division III broadcast today, that sense of community that you get here in Canton, Ohio, the camaraderie, the friendship, the team building. It's been really fun to see not just how this Hall of Fame village has built up over these 5 years, but to see how the WFA is built up as well. You talk about continuing to increase social media views, continuing to get viewership on ESPN2, continuing to see beautiful skylines like that, but also the impact that the flag football games have started to have here and the growth of women's professional tackle football.
And not to mention the fact that this season the All-Women's Sports Network elected to pick up Games of the Week from the Women's Football Alliance. You know, you're watching this game right now on the All-Women's Sports Network. It's an app. It's free on Pluto TV if you have it. And I mean, it's great to see so many women's things coming to be with the expansion of the women's sports bars around the country. On top of that, you already mentioned the flag system. It's just great to see so many great things happening for these athletes.
Well, and really look at the proliferation of women's sports as a whole. Look at the WNBA, look at the PWHL, look at the impact that college athletics have had on growing women's sports. It's something that you love to see because the quality is excellent and the games are excellent. A couple of weeks ago when DC played Pittsburgh in that conference final, that was one of the most exciting football games you could find, no matter who you're cheering for.
We'll talk more about that game tomorrow in the Pro Division Championship game, and Congiality's going for 2 and the win there, which was super exciting. So fresh set of downs. Vitak drops back. She's going to air this one out on the left-hand side, and this one is going to be complete to Ziobro. And what a great catch as her helmet comes off, and she's going to move the chains all the way up to the 35-yard line.
And there's where that is, that run, the big pass play over the top to stretch out a defense. And when you're Baltimore, you're sitting on that for that entirety of that injury timeout. This is a perfect pass by Lauren Vitak. She was used to doing it when she played goalkeeper in college for her soccer team, but that time a perfect, great lead pass for Ziobro, and the Nighthawks move the chains.
Soccer to quarterback, goalkeeper to quarterback to be precise. I've seen kickers come from goalkeepers, but not very often that you see a quarterback, and it is definitely working out for Lauren Vitak. So she takes the snap. She runs to her right. She almost gets pulled down there. How she got out of that one, I'm not quite sure, but she is pulled down by Brielle Lampright of the Wildcats there.
Oh, great athleticism by Vitak. Again, just enough of that subtlety to be able to move your body in a point where you can step around a defender. And it's just a gorgeous move by a quarterback with that naked bootleg out to the right side. Well done by Lauren Vitak.
Gets back to the original line of scrimmage, so 2nd down and 10 for the Nighthawks, currently trailing by 6 here in the first quarter of the Division II National Championship game. Nighthawks break their huddle. Vitak has Alston to her left. She's going to hand it to Alston. Alston's going to find a block, and she's going to be met immediately as she gets up to the line of scrimmage by Sam Gordon of the Wildcats.
Perfect defensive spy from Sam Gordon, too, keeping an eye on the running back, not knowing if the pass is coming or if the run is coming. But Gordon has his tag all the way, attacks the hole defensively so well that there's no chance for Alston to do anything with that run.
Picks up 2 yards on the play. 3rd and 8 for Baltimore. This is about where they were in the first quarter when that interception happened. Looking to get a more successful drive this time in their second possession of the game. Vitak looks like she was hit, and this time it was almost intercepted, but it was in and out of the hands of Bianca Benson. Or, excuse me, that was Bates, the intended receiver.
And Baltimore, their pocket is held so well for Vitak to be able to step him up and make him play. We'll get a good look at it here to see if she was affected, maybe by the pressure, not on an arm, and the ball just a tad high for Bates. We've seen her make those catches, and so you trust your receiver to make it, and that time just not quite enough for Baltimore.
So it's another 4th and long for the Nighthawks. Vitak gonna air it to the right, and this time it was tipped, and it's gonna fall. And so the Wildcats are going to take over on downs with pretty good field position from their own 34-yard line.
Turnover on down. The Wildcats take over from the 33.
That's good pressure on the outside. Here by Justine Larson for Salt Lake to be able to get in the face of Vitak and cause just enough of an alteration on the hand to make that ball go nowhere.
So Laura Gates, the Wildcats offense, back out onto the field for the second time this game. 12:28 remaining in the second quarter. Currently up 6-0 over Baltimore. And we've got a timeout on the field. So the head coach, Sean Gates, there talking to his team, called the timeout, saw something he didn't like. And Alex, I mean, we talked a little bit before about how they went in and they hosted Nevada and had such a great game. But you look at the rest of the regular season, and their lowest scoring regular season game was against New Mexico when they only put up 36 points. Beyond that, every game was 50s, 60s, and even a 70-point game against the Wasatch Warriors.
Well, and so often the importance on the WFA with the Massey rating system that it has, some people love it, some people hate it, but the point differential is so important to these players and to these teams.
So Gates takes the snap. She's going to hand it off to her right-hand side, and we've got a player being driven out of bounds. Forced out of bounds by Rozier of the Nighthawks. And that was Gina Mondragon for the Wildcats on the carry there. Gets 2 yards.
Again, I love the play design that I've seen from Salt Lake. It's creative. It's innovative, and you figure it's the run. You only have so many options that you can do, one side versus the other, up the middle, through certain holes, through certain gaps. But the play design by Salt Lake is so creative, so unique.
So this time, Gordon lines up in the backfield and takes the handoff, and she's going nowhere. Gets up about a yard past the line of scrimmage, and she is driven backwards by the Nighthawks as she loses her helmet.
A really good wrap up there by Anderson for Baltimore. Again, just shuffling laterally well, doing such a good job to stay with the play. Great defensive play by Baltimore, especially with a runner that's so quick and so good to be able to keep that lateral consistency. Well done by Baltimore.
And good news, we do see Vic back on the field again. So this time, though, it's going to be a pitch to the left. And that is Vic, I believe, that has the ball. Nope, that was not Vic. Again, we do struggle with these blue on blue numbers.
And the blocking's there for Salt Lake as well. They pull out well, but once again, another fine defensive play. Trinity Grant makes it for Baltimore, going low, staying low. And here you're in a midfield situation where 4th and 2 with the run game you have, really a no-brainer what you do here.
We got Mondragon near side of the field, the only receiver. Everybody else bunched up in the middle. And this one is going to be a quarterback keeper, and she's going to bust through the hole, and she's going to pick up a first down for the Wildcats.
First down, Wildcats.
And it was so interesting, too, in the short yard situation that Baltimore is playing so far back from the line, giving so much space. And this is good awareness here. And you can see there might be 3 players on Baltimore's line when in that short yardage situation, you expect to have a team sell out to block the run. And for Gage, she sees it and says, okay, I'll do it.
She only needed to get 1, picked up about 3 on that, moves the chain. So first down and 10 for the Wildcats. So this time going straight up the middle, carrying half the Baltimore offensive line with her is Gordon, and she's going to pick up about 9 yards on that possession.
Pushing her back, number 18, Brianna Brewer. Gain of 9, second down and 1.
I mean, you look at Gordon's size, Alex, and what she's able to do, just squeezing between those players. She just slips out of those tackles. They go to tackle her high, and they're getting her above her shoulders, and that's why they're not able to pull her down there. And it looks like she's lost her helmet once again on that carry. This time it was Lampright actually losing her helmet on the carry. But she's going to pick up another first down for the Wildcats, so they are moving the ball, and that's something that Baltimore can't afford to be letting them to do.
Well, and they're moving the ball incredibly well, too. I mean, at this point, it's been run, 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 and because of the diversity in running styles, it's tough for Baltimore to stop. Baltimore's made great defensive plays, but it's just the consistency and the repetition of the runs that's starting to wear them down on this drive.
So this time, Baltimore gets through the line, and there's going to be a stoppage of the possession, but Grant gets through the line, but they are going to give her forward progress here, so I don't know if I agree with that so much, but still a great job by Baltimore preventing more from happening as they got through and stopped Tanner.
Well, on a group effort by Baltimore to make sure that Valerie Tanner doesn't go any further. She had 9 carries for 48 yards and a touchdown in the regular season and could have had a lot more, but Baltimore was ready for it.
This time Gates going to throw it to her left, and is this one intercepted or is it? No? Okay. They're going to say Gordon had possession of it and stopped with forward progress, but it's going to bring up third down for Salt Lake.
It'll be officially a loss of 1 here, Brian, but I think this is where Gordon catches the ball, and just with the momentum that her body had, she fell down. And so a break for Baltimore now on a 3rd and long. Can they get the stop? And still what's probably 4 down territory here for the Wildcats.
Gates drops back. She's going to be pummeled by a bunch of Baltimore Nighthawks, and leading the charge is Rolanda Davis. Davis with a great stop there on 3rd down.
And our first sack of the game of Gates for Salt Lake. Pocket holds up until just enough pressure created by Rolanda Davis from the left side of the formation. Baltimore gets there to assist, and now you're probably thinking here in a 4th and 12, you could go for it here at midfield, but you could also wait for Gates to do that kind of pooch kick and just try to be able to pin Baltimore deep, although Baltimore's moved the ball well when they've been back deep.
They are going for it on 4th. She's going to air it out to her left-hand side. She's got a receiver, and nothing comes with it. Mondrag the intended target, and Baltimore escapes that possession as they take over on downs.
And Baltimore is potentially lucky here. Salt Lake is looking for a flag for pass interference, but you see that tight coverage, Mondragon going toe for toe with it, and the defender for Baltimore, Jasmine Ward, turns around, puts the arms up. Typically, if you're a defensive coach, you want to see that player turn around and look for the ball to avoid a potential flag, but no laundry on the field, and Baltimore takes possession at midfield.
So 1st and 10 for the Nighthawks from their own 44-yard line. Vitak waits for the snap. Snap is up. She pitches it back to Pellegrini. Pellegrini cuts to her left. Gonna get up to the original line of scrimmage, but she's not gonna get anything beyond that, as she was just taken down by Sydney Sessions of the Wildcats.
The end around goes number 44, Sabrina Pellegrini.
Baltimore now 13 rushes for 37 yards. Compare that to what Salt Lake has done, 19 rushes for 90 yards. They continue to work the ball and continue to show this Hall of Fame village about what the old school style of game. Run the ball 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Clock ticking here in the second quarter. Just over 6 minutes remaining. Salt Lake up over the Nighthawks 6-0. Second down and 10 for Baltimore. Vitak takes the snap. She's going to throw it to her right. She's got a receiver in mind, and this one is just out of the reach to Tanya Bates.
Incomplete, out of the reach.
We've seen a number of those passes, Alex, intended for Bates that are either too high, too far in front of her. And Bates, throughout the season, actually did very well, as she was their second leading receiver with 405 yards on 23 receptions.
Well, Bates a good go route there on the near side of the screen. Good tight coverage by Archuleta on the near side too, and you can really see how Baltimore wants to start to attack. The throws are good, it's just one of those will connect for Baltimore.
This time Vitak's going to throw it to her left. This time the pass is complete to Pellegrini, and Pellegrini's going to get a lot of yards needed, but it's still going to bring up 4th and a long 2 for Baltimore.
It's 4th down and 2.
So 4th down and 2 for Baltimore. Vitak. 2 receivers to her right, 2 to her left. Ziobro in motion. Snap is up. She's going to throw it. And what a catch by Bates. A beautiful job by Vitak, just putting that ball where it needed to be.
Well, it's an aggressive play call. On 4th and 2, you're thinking, load the box, runner with the blocker that goes in assistance with, but this is an aggressive play. I said literally the last play before. Eventually one of those passes over the top is going to connect to Bates. This time it does. She pays a price for it, but she holds on and the drive stays alive for the Baltimore Nighthawks.
And looking at the way she came down, looks like it was realistically the wind getting knocked out of her, that football was just in the stomach area. She landed on top of it with her hands cradling it. But great job by Baltimore taking a 4th down situation, as you stated, and moving the ball far enough down the field that not only are you extending the drive, but you're putting yourself just 5 yards away from the red zone.
And it's aggressive play calling by offensive coordinator Raymond Eidelman, where you're being aggressive with it. Best case scenario, it's a completion. Worst case scenario, it's an interception, and you still put Salt Lake further back on the defensive side of the field. Good aggressive play calling in a game where for both these teams there's no tomorrow. One team will be the Division II champion and one team will not, and so leave it all out on the field tonight.
Fresh set of downs, 1st and 10 for the Nighthawks from the Wildcats' 25-yard line. Vitak sends a player in motion. Ike was in motion. This time it was handed off. And the ball is going to be fumbled out of bounds that time by Channel Ross. But she's able to pick up a good solid 5 yards on the play to put up 2nd down.
And I like the counter that Baltimore is doing, where so much of that first quarter was run up the middle, but now you're trying to stretch the field. You're trying to stretch the length and the stamina of Salt Lake by extending the field. Whereas if you're in that first quarter, you're Salt Lake, you keep players in the box. You try to keep them loaded to prevent those runs from going up the middle. Well, now you're stretching it out. And so far for Baltimore, it's opened up other things. Now can Salt Lake make a defensive adjustment back?
2nd down and 5. Pellegrini in the backfield with Vitak. Vitak's going to throw it to the left, and unfortunately there, it looks like Ziobro got her legs tangled up with the defenseman there. And that was Vic on defense. And so Pellegrini and, Ziobro and Vic get their legs tangled up, so Vitok's pass just goes a little bit behind her.
Well, simple motion play, too. You're sending a receiver out to the outside to get them that extra step and that extra motion. Salt Lake's players were looking for a penalty flag there. There was some contact elsewhere on the near side, but no penalty marker down. In fact, so far this game, Brian, we've just had the one.
That was for that false start by Baltimore that moved them back on that 4th down in their opening drive. This time, Alston, the ball carrier, she escapes a couple tackles there. Gets back up to the line of scrimmage, though, where she's stopped by Gordon and a couple other Wildcats to bring up 4th down.
And there's a solid defensive adjustment by Salt Lake, being ready for that run to the left side. You see the defenders shift in motion as Baltimore sends a receiver out in motion, and just good, persistent effort by Vic. Going low, wrapping up, holding on for dear life, and forcing a 4th and 5.
So Vitok has Alston in the backfield with her. 2 receivers to her far right. Alston switches to her near right. Vitok drops back. Gonna throw it up the middle, and they're gonna be incomplete. The Wildcats are gonna take over on downs after that pass was intended for Ziobro, goes incomplete.
And that's a good slant play ran by Baltimore there. On that 4th down and 5, I like the slant. I love a good slant and a ball that's a 50-50 ball, you know, a ball where you put in the chance for a receiver to get to it, but right on the hip of Ziobro. Sam Gordon is there all the way, and just enough contact incidental to the game where it's a good defensive play by Gordon, and now Salt Lake takes over.
Salt Lake 1st and 10, 2:56 remaining here in the first half of the Women's Football Alliance Division II National Championship game. Salt Lake up over Baltimore 6-0. 1st down for them from their own 20-yard line. Moving right to left across your screen in the blue on blue. This time the ball was pitched to Gordon. She's going to run into a bunch of people. Not going to get very far, including Amanda Graham there, the defensive tackle for Baltimore, in on that stop.
And so that's a side effect, too, of Baltimore having a run-heavy offense here in this game, and we're going to get a timeout here, I believe. But when you have that run-heavy game on your own side, it will be Baltimore that takes the timeout here. They'll have one left. But when you have that run-heavy side, you keep your defense on the field. And Salt Lake, again, has the depth where they have to have players play both sides. And the longer that those drives go on, we think about these Baltimore drives so far, Brian. A 14-play drive, an 8-play drive, and another 8-play drive. They continue to keep their defense rested against a very talented offense. And so far, it's worked. 6 points on the board for Salt Lake. When coming into this game, I think you and I expected we were going to see a lot more by this point.
Oh, definitely. You look at the number of points that these two teams put up in the regular season, 232 for Baltimore, 347 for the Wildcats. And here we are with 2:32 remaining in the first half of this game, and there's only been 6 total points scored between the two teams.
And it's not to say that, you know, teams haven't had opportunity. Both of these teams have had opportunity. The drives have been good. They've been close to being in the red zone. It's just one opportunity. That's it. Has been taken fully advantage of, and that's by Salt Lake.
So Gates takes the snap, hands it off right away, and Gordon runs up the middle, and she's going to get close to the first down, going to be about a yard short. It's going to bring up 3rd down for the Wildcats.
And I'm thinking very carefully about running this down to the 2-minute timeout.
And they decide not to do that. They're actually going to get a big hole, and she's got only a couple players to beat. But luckily, what a great tackle there by Baltimore's Alexandra Husband for the Nighthawks. Pulls her down and takes us to our 2-minute timeout.
There's nothing like a player that makes an announcer eat their words, and if there's anyone who's going to do it, it better be Sam Gordon. Just attacked the hole so well. Good speed, good effort, and a great run by Salt Lake.
So we're at the 2-minute timeout, Alex, and we were talking a little bit before about just how we did not expect this low of a scoring game here. for the Division II National Championship. And, you know, we're 23 minutes into this game, 25 minutes into this game, and it's 6-0. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we saw for Salt Lake in their conference final against New Mexico, it was a slow start as well. There's Lois Cook. She'll be playing for the DC Divas. You'll hear from her at halftime as well in a special edition of Road to Champions. But in terms of what you expect, Salt Lake got going slowly in that game against New Mexico. It didn't matter with the points being what they were at the end of the game. But for Salt Lake, again, you can see how their structure's working. And if you keep thinking Baltimore, run, eventually that pass is going to be open and Salt Lake will take advantage.
So Gates takes the snap, hands it off to Gordon. Gordon goes straight up the middle, escapes one tackle, gets another one, and oh! That was not Gates, excuse me, that was Lampright. There was the ball carrier, and that almost looked like she was pulled down by her ponytail from this angle. No huddle offense for the Wildcats. Clock continues to tick. Minute 40 remaining here in the opening half. This time, though, it's going to be Gordon up the middle, escapes a couple tackles, going to pick up a first down.
Well, and almost a spot of here we go. Salt Lake getting back to what they work well on, and it's that running game. It's attacking the hole. It's driving the ball up the middle and making Baltimore make a stop. And on this drive, Baltimore hasn't made the stop at the spot that they had previously.
So quick run up the middle this time. Going to get about 9 yards on the play for Lampright. Clock continues to tick. Just north of a minute remaining here in the first half. 2nd and 2 for Salt Lake. Another busted hole. They're going to move the chains once again, so it's going to be 1st and goal, Alex, for the Wildcats with 46 seconds remaining here in the first half.
And at this point, Brian, you can be conservative here. Salt Lake will get the ball to start the second half, and you can hold
and right away, Gordon into the end zone for a touchdown.
Big plays. Big plays, big plays, big plays. And so far, Salt Lake had been held in earlier drives to the 3, 4, 5, 6-yard runs. But here on this drive, 10, 11, 12. Big runs by big players and a well-executed drive by Salt Lake.
So Devi is out for the point after. Kick is up. And this time it's good. So Salt Lake extends their lead over the Baltimore Nighthawks here in the Division II National Championship game, 13-0. And Alex, this is what we talked on Road to Champions about, that Baltimore cannot afford to let happen. Luckily, they're not any further behind.
Well, and it's two-possession. It's a two-possession game, and for Baltimore having to be able to match each possession that Salt Lake has, when you look at this game right now, a couple of little defensive lapses. That's the difference so far for Baltimore. They've done a good job of limiting what Salt Lake can do, but also creating on their own side. But for Baltimore, you have to put points on the board. You have 41 seconds here. You have a timeout. I'm attacking the sidelines. I'm going outs. I'm going slants. I'm looking to move the ball up the field and play with as much of that clock as I can to either put the ball into the end zone or think about a long VTOC field goal.
Devi, nice kick, perfectly up into the hands of the Baltimore player as Ziobro on the return going to get up to about the 38-yard line. So 34 seconds remaining here, Alex, in the first half, and Baltimore's got some field between them and the scoreboard.
Well, and the best part about it, Brian, is it's not a lot of field. The opportunity is still there. But you have to be conscious of the clock. You have to be conscious of how much time you have. Again, one penalty so far. That's been it. We saw in the Division III game a ton of procedural penalties that we have not seen here in Division II. Then this 2-minute warning, this 2-minute style drive, be aggressive towards the sidelines, continue to stop the clock by getting out of bounds, and use what you have to put something on the scoreboard before half. Because for Salt Lake, they get the ball in the second half, and if they get a score there, that's a huge momentum swing for the Wildcats.
You know, we talked a little bit, or Donna, excuse me, and Matt Fargo talked in the Division III championship game. How many DMV teams are in this between the Baltimore Nighthawks? You had the New Richmond Black Widows and the DC Divas. Is there something in the water out there on the East Coast?
Well, you certainly wonder, that's for sure. You could say, too, I mean, even here in the area, about an hour's north, the Baltimore Orioles were playing the Cleveland Guardians this week, so it's been a DMV week here in Northeast Ohio.
Vitak waits the snap. She's going to throw this one to her left, and this one's going to be intercepted. That's Gates, the quarterback for the Wildcats, with the interception, and she's getting some moves before she's pushed out of bounds by Vitak, quarterback to quarterback in that knockout.
And for Baltimore, this is a worst-case scenario situation here in this 2-minute drill. Vitak has time, and the ball goes to no Baltimore Nighthawk in the screen. It's a gift to Gates, and she, as she did on the first interception, makes Baltimore pay, carrying it up. And now Salt Lake, they can be aggressive here. 21 seconds, a timeout, and you can take a shot. You can give it to Gordon, and your playbook is open. Could not be a worse spot for Baltimore.
Archuleta, good option. Gordon, an option. Lampright. This one's going to be aired out, and this one's going to be intercepted by the Nighthawks. That's Jasmine Ward that picks it off this time.
And ironically, the first pass attempt of the game for the Salt Lake Wildcats is intercepted. Worst case scenario for Baltimore turns into worst case scenario for Salt Lake. A ball that's just a little bit overthrown. It's a good route that's run by the receiver for Salt Lake and Mondragon, but just a tad overthrown. And give credit to Baltimore. You know, you throw an interception, you can get down, you can get defeated, but that's not what they did. They got on defense and they made a pick of their own.
And Vitak, with no time to think about what happened with her interception, right back onto the field with the Nighthawks offense. 1st and 10, deep in their own end at the 5-yard line. And they're going to elect to knee the ball, so they're going to let us go to halftime, Alex.
And I like the decision here in a 1st and 10 from the 5. I like the decision just to take the knee, run out the clock. We've said it all of this first half, Brian. This is not the scoreline that we were expecting with the offenses that both of these teams have. There's a lot of potential for both of these offenses to erupt in the second half. But the question now becomes, Salt Lake is leading by 2 scores. Baltimore needs to match. Can they get more defensive stops that they got in the first half? Salt Lake is a second half team. We've seen that all season long. If they can go on a run, well, that's a whole different story. But if Baltimore can get the defensive stops, it should be really, really good and close for them to be able to make this a fun game at the end.
And Susie Cool's down on the sideline with the head coach. Susie, what do you have for us?
Coach, your team is averaging 57 points per game, just at 13 right now through this first half. So where do you need to better adjust offensively against Baltimore?
We're a second half team. I'm not worried at all. If you watch our games, 40 points is the second half, so we're actually pretty much on track. We might be 1 score behind, but we're on track. We'll be good.
Defensively, where do you need to keep it locked in?
We got to contain 33. She's a hell of a ball player. We just got to contain her. Otherwise, I think we're doing good.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you.
Brian?
All right, so the first half is complete of the Women's Football Alliance Division II National Championship game from Tom Benson Stadium in Canton, Ohio. Salt Lake Wildcats up over the Baltimore Nighthawks. We'll have information. We'll have a halftime special and the second half coming up after this. Welcome back to the Women's Football Alliance Division II National Championship game. It's halftime and the Salt Lake Wildcats are up over the Baltimore Nighthawks by a score of 13-0. Welcome inside the broadcast booth. I'm Brian Sweeney. With me as always is Alex Weston. Alex, that first half, Your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a lot of thoughts that we can have about it. It was an exciting first half, a lot of good offensive possessions, but defense the star of the show. Salt Lake said again, and I said that they're a second half team, so expect the points to come for Salt Lake. But if Baltimore can continue to get the defensive stops that they have at times in this first half, this could be a close game all the way down the wire, and I'm really excited to see how does Baltimore attack, because you know that ground game is coming. The one pass Salt Lake throws is an interception, and so now how do you plan for that as Baltimore heading into the second half, because this is a Salt Lake team that knows how to put people away.
And for people that have been watching all season, Alex and I have a weekly show called The Road to Champions, and we have a special halftime edition of Road to Champions for you to stay tuned and watch right now. Welcome back to the Women's Football Alliance Division II National Championship game. At halftime, the Salt Lake Wildcats up over the Baltimore Nighthawks by a score of 13-0. And Alex, we got some first half highlights here, to say the least.
Well, we saw a lot of good defensive play. We saw some great passing as well. Big plays over the top for Baltimore really highlighted what they did in the offensive portion of their first half. You can see just how well Vitak was throwing the ball, but Salt Lake also able to take advantage. 2 interceptions by Salt Lake's starting quarterback, Laura Gates. That gave Salt Lake a ton of momentum to be able to work with, and they turned it into points when it mattered the most.
Salt Lake here getting in for the touchdown, 1 of 2 that they had in the first half. And Gates, she saw her own bit of trouble as well as she throws an interception in that first half to Baltimore. But it's going to be anybody's game in this second half. Salt Lake's only up by 2 possessions, as you stated.
Well, and I think what head coach Sean Gates said, that this is a second half team. I said it as well, so expect Salt Lake to come out with fire to begin this second half. But don't be surprised if Baltimore opens up the playbook. Maybe there's an onside kick that Salt Lake could be caught unaware for. In Baltimore has the opportunity here. They just have to get the defensive stops that they did in the first half. Think about the momentum of that interception made defensively by Jasmine Ward for Baltimore. This game is not yet over, and it could really go down to the wire.
We will be back after this with the exciting second half of the Women's Football Alliance Division II National Championship game from Tom Benson Stadium in Canton, Ohio. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Aid Nation WFA National Championship is powered by edX, and the National Championship game is brought to you by Aid Nation, the official sports drink of the WFA. We're back in Canton, Ohio. Brian Sweeney here, and Alex Westhead, the most elite mind in women's tackle football. Alex, we saw some excitement in the first half, and based on what you said at halftime, we may see even more excitement here.
Well, and I think that's what our main recipe here for this second half is. There's going to be a lot of exciting big plays. Both of these teams, Salt Lake is a second half team. Baltimore, certainly the film that they have seen on the Wildcats, they know that as well. And so how do you limit the big plays? How do you continue to keep this for the Baltimore Nighthawks a 2-possession game? I said at the end of the second half, or the end of the first half, that this was going to be a spot for Salt Lake where they could end the game right here. If they take this on a long drive, wind some clock, and demoralize Baltimore, that could be the game. But if Baltimore is able to get a stop, if Baltimore is able to limit what Salt Lake gets on this drive, well, then anything's on the table now, because Baltimore gets a good stop, then all of a sudden that back and forth game we saw in the first half, we see again here in the second.
You know, we talked before the game, Alex, about how Salt Lake led Division II in rushing this season, and the stats from the first half just go to prove that.
Well, I think that's the big thing that we look at. The one pass play for Salt Lake was an interception, but the running game that was done by the Wildcats, expected to be prolific, was 27 carries, 170 yards. Meanwhile, for Baltimore, they picked up 8 first downs to Salt Lake's 14, but the Nighthawks 16 of 42 on the ground and 6 for 16 through the air with the 2 interceptions, and still, Brian, 1 penalty flag.
1 penalty flag, something that we're not used to seeing every year when we come to Canton, Ohio. And the biggest reason is the play clock. So many times we see teams every single year not used to having a digital play clock in the end zone, and that catches them. But this year, it's been clean playing by the offense other than that false start.
Well, and you think about the offensive mechanics as well with the official in the back, putting the hand up to signal when that 5 seconds is left. It's better to have the visual representation of it, but even still, we saw in the Division III game today where if you are just overcome by the heat and turf sensation, it can be something that's really difficult to play with.
So Vitak kicks off the ball to start the second half to the Wildcats, and this one's going to bounce up in Mondragon's hand, and she's going to get up to about the 35-yard line before she's knocked down by the Nighthawks. So here we go, second half of the Division II championship game, Alex, and what we saw in the first half wasn't what we expected, but maybe in the second half of this game, we'll begin to see some of that.
Well, and I think it's what Sean Gates was hinting at, too. It's a team that where Salt Lake wants to try to wear a team down in that first half of play and then really exploit that in the second. Baltimore provided a good counter by running the ball at them, making Salt Lake have to work for every defensive stop that they got. And so now we'll see how does that depth really show up for Salt Lake in this moment. I can't wait to see.
A little confusion here by the chain gain and the side judge as we announced that it was the 35-yard line, and they decided to line up at the 40, and now they're walking back to the 35 and still trying to figure out where exactly they want to place the ball here.
Well, and there was a penalty marker thrown by the half judge on the far side of the field. And so the question becomes, what, if anything, is that?
Offside, number 72 on the receiving team. That penalty is declined.
So offsides by the receiving team. Call you rarely ever see in football.
Well, and a penalty, too, that if you're certainly Baltimore, you're okay with the field position being where it is, but you maybe think about taking that second chance. If they give you a second opportunity, maybe you think about being aggressive with the onside kick, but no such luck this time.
So Gates going to take the snap right away this time and, of course, hand it off to who other than Sam Gordon, and Gordon's going to pick up the original line of scrimmage here. And something I noticed on the near side of the field was Jasmine Ward of the Nighthawks kind of slow to get up right after that. But this time, it's good to see Jadise Vick back on the field, and she's going to get back to the original line of scrimmage. They're going to give her 1 yard on her forward progress, and just like that, we're already up to third down on this possession.
Well, and look at your rushing leaders, too, in the first half for Salt Lake. Gordon, 17 carries, 127 yards, and a touchdown in that opening 30 minutes of play.
So look to see a lot of action from Gordon here in this second half. And it's going to be handed off up the middle. Going to reach. Going to get about 5 yards on that play, Gordon is, but it's still not going to be enough to move the chain, so it's going to be a quick fourth down for the Wildcats here.
And for Salt Lake, your offense is on the field here, already showing I formation. Run the ball up the middle.
And Gates is going to be met in the backfield. She is not going to go anywhere as Baltimore read that play like you were announcing it to them. And they're going to take over on downs with the best starting field position they've had this game.
And it's curious on the play, the offensive play call for Salt Lake. I love the creativity that they have shown, but out of the I formation in a 3 yards to gain situation, Baltimore learned from their mistake in the first half. They loaded the box that time. I'm surprised that the quarterback keeper was there instead of handing it off to the tailback in Gordon.
And Amanda Graham for the Nighthawks was the first person through that line and gets credited for the stop there and getting her team the ball. So 1st and 10 for the Nighthawks. First possession for them of the second half of the game, and this time it's handed off right away to Alston, and Alston's going to lose 3 yards on that carry.
Is hit immediately in the backfield by Jocelyn Pochno.
Well, and so there again, Brian, the stop that Baltimore was looking for out of the halftime break. Now, how do you turn it into momentum and points yourself? You've run the ball at Salt Lake. You've continued to tire out the defensive line for the Wildcats, but it's coming to the point where it has to turn into points sooner rather than later.
That was Putnam on the tackle there. Great coverage by her, not letting go of Alston's leg. Vitak gonna run off to her right. She's got an open receiver. This one is complete to Ziobro, and Ziobro's gonna get 9 plus the original -3 that they were at. So she's going to pick up 13 yards on that play and is going to bring up a 3rd and short for the Nighthawks.
Well, and another well-executed slant play, just moving across the formation, that naked bootleg, and getting just enough space to Ziobro, finding a hole in the Salt Lake zone, and a big play. And we haven't seen many big plays that have worked well. There's been times where Baltimore has not connected on them, but there have been times where they have. And if they continue to get that in their favor, that's going to be a really good spot for them.
3rd and 1 for Baltimore. Going to go with the old tush push here, and it's going to work out for them, and they're going to pick up a 1st down, getting the ball up to the 30-yard line.
1st down, Baltimore.
And that tush push works so well. When you have an offensive line that executes their pulls well, and you have blockers that continue to provide assistance behind you to push you forward. In this case, it's Whitfield and it's Alston pushing the quarterback Vitak forward on the right side of that formation, and a well-executed TP by BLT. Well, I imagine they abbreviate BAL more than BLT, but now I'm just hungry.
All right. 1st and 10 for the Nighthawks. From the Wildcats' 30-yard line, Vitak's going to throw it to her left. She's got a receiver open, and this time it's in and out of the hands of Tanya Bates. Going to bring up 2nd down. Good coverage there by the Wildcats.
And that's a good adjustment, too, to recognize that slant over the middle. And if you're playing that as a defensive player and you're thinking about how Salt Lake is showing a zone in that middle linebacking core, you have to be able to adjust to pull somebody down to provide that extra protection along those receivers when you see those single receivers out to that far side. Great adjustment by Salt Lake.
That was Ashlyn Ogden on the great coverage there for Salt Lake. Made her way over to the sideline after that play. Brings up 2nd down and 10. 2 receivers up top, 1 below. This time, she's going to be chased in the backfield. She's got to escape. She gets a quick little route, throws it out, gets a completion. And great little job saving the play by Jaquia Alston that time.
It's a safety valve reception by Alston in this spot, but even better for Vitak to be able to escape when Salt Lake has one hat on the jersey of Vitak. And even just being there too for Alston, being able to turn something out of it, turning it into positive yardage, making it 3rd and 8, a well-defended play by Salt Lake, and a good job of Baltimore to get something.
Picked up a 2 on that play. 3rd down and 8 for the Nighthawks. And probably one of the most crucial possessions they've had so far in this Division II championship game. And that time, Vitak throws it well short of Ziobro. So it's going to bring up a 4th down. And this late in the game, Alex, I mean, we still got a quarter plus to go here. But when you have an offense like Salt Lake has, should Baltimore go for a short punt here, or do you think they should go for it on 4th, which is what it looks like they're doing?
Well, and you're looking at about what would be a 45-yard field goal from this spot. You can really give it a good thought, but when those slants have been working, Salt Lake has started to make the adjustment. You take your chances here.
Hopefully, even if you don't pick up the 1st down, you're able to gain enough yardages to push them back. And this one's going to be a good completion. Not going to be enough for the 1st down, but just like we talked about, that completion to Pellegrini there is going to push back the Wildcats from where they're going to be starting. They're going to be 1st and 10 from their 25.
Turnover on downs.
And all sorts of times, Salt Lake, you can see a player moving to the sideline kind of slowly there. Maybe the stamina test that's been put on by Baltimore today may be starting to affect Salt Lake defensively. But again, the Wildcats bent, they didn't break, and you still have an opportunity now for Salt Lake. Baltimore has to match the possessions. We've said that all game. We said that on Road to Champions this week. And right now, they're doing so here in the 2nd half, but eventually, points need to be on the board.
1st and 10 for Laura Gates. The Wildcats offense from their own 25-yard line. 10:23 remaining here in the 3rd quarter. They're up 13-0 over Baltimore. This time the ball is going to be handed off, and in the backfield she's going to be met. She's not going to get anything out of this. Actually going to lose a yard on the play. And you see Coach Gates there talking to his offensive coordinator. What was that call?
Well, you can see the motion. You can see the intent there, where you go motion to try to draw a mismatch offside, and it just didn't work.
This time the ball handed off quickly to Gordon, and she's going to pick up that yard that was lost plus an additional 4, so it's going to bring 3rd down and 5. After looks like the Wildcats are going to keep going with their no-huddle offense here.
Well, and it's matching the fatigue that they have by trying to put some on Baltimore in their own right.
Handoff again to Gordon. Gordon's behind a couple blockers. She's going to pick up another 4 yards on the play. Going to bring up 4th down and 1. And we're right back to a 4th down situation for the Wildcats after they turned it over on downs last possession.
And we've seen Salt Lake on these 4th down possessions so far. They're 1 for 3 on 4th down today. I think real hard about putting some extra protection in that backfield. Maybe trying a tush-push of their own.
Gates not going to have it. She's going to hand it off to Gordon. Gordon's going to spin away from 1 tackle, and she's going to pick up the 1st down and move the chains for Salt Lake.
Well, when you have a running back of that caliber, no reason to go for the tush push. We can just hand it off. And Gordon, who has been so electric in this game, with the 1 touchdown, sure, and you say, well, 1 touchdown's 1 touchdown. But the way that she's dominated this game has been electric to watch.
And Trinity Grant there, Baltimore, one of their leading tacklers this season on the stop of Gordon. So it's a 2nd set of downs for Salt Lake. 1st and 10 from their 40-yard line. And this time hit hard in the backfield. Going to lose a couple yards on the play. And that is Lampright that just gets leveled behind the play.
Well, if there's anything to say about Baltimore, they are physical. They are in your face, and they will let you know where they are on the football field. Good defensive tackle made by the Nighthawks.
Amanda Graham with the body slam in the backfield, paying homage to Hulk Hogan, who passed away earlier this week. This time, handed off to Mondragon. Mondragon goes up the right-hand side, runs out of bounds. Not going to pick up anything, and we're at a 3rd and long with an 11 yards to go here for Salt Lake.
Well, on a 2nd play on this drive where Gates is trying to create the separation, the follow out to the right-hand side. And on 3rd and 11, Baltimore reads it well. Baltimore is in the right spot that they need to be, and now another opportunity here for Baltimore to get off the field.
Gates takes the snap. She's going to throw it to her left, and this one's going to be complete, and they're wrestling for the ball. Little conversation there between the players. I'd like to know what Mondragon is being told by Jasmine Ward, but something like that should have been mine, but congratulations on the catch.
Well, and that's the first time that we've seen a pass completed by Salt Lake here today. It's a perfect slant. Right where the receiver runs a great route to cut inside. 2 Nighthawks are ready for the tackle, but it's enough to make a 4th and manageable situation here right at midfield.
So 4th and 2, and I'm not quite sure what happened there. Did Gordon get there? They're saying Gordon got the 1st down, so Gordon with a quick little shovel picks up a 1st down for the Wildcats, and they get into Baltimore territory.
And there's a lot of different ways to attack a 4th down. I love that 4th down call because you're creating confusion in the backfield with the extra running backs you have, where all of a sudden the first focus isn't on Gordon, it's that main tailback. But Gordon's right there, right in the perfect spot.
This time handed off to Lampright. She runs up the right-hand side. Baltimore's fan base there. Love the fact that so many fans, Alex, from around the country make the trek each year to cheer on their team. And it's not just the spouses and the children and the parents. There's fans across the country for each of these teams.
It's awareness, it's media, it's marketing, it's all the things that we do every spring.
Gordon, carrier, middle, 1st down. Said it before, say it again.
Well, and again, the first real big play that Gordon's had here in this drive. We were able to move the chains and continue to keep pressure on Baltimore as that back between them and the back of the end zone gets smaller and smaller. If I'm Salt Lake, I continue to give the ball to Gordon until consecutive stops are made.
Fresh set of downs for the Wildcats. Chipping away at the field, moving right to left across your screen. High snap. Gates is able to pull it down. Looks to her left. There is a flag on the play. They're going to say this one is complete. And what a catch by Bridget Howell.
Well, the concentration by Howell is a big thing. Question is it coming back?
Illegal formation. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat first down.
The answer to that, unfortunately, is yes, it is coming back. And Howell with a great catch. She wants that on her highlight reel. We'll look at it again here because she went up, especially after that snap was almost over the head of Gates.
And even for that high snap, too, with that ball that's high on Gates, she hangs in there and makes a perfect throw. You can't like that throw any more than what she threw. Great job by the Salt Lake quarterback.
So it makes it 1st and 15 after the penalty. Gates hands it off to Gordon. Gordon going to pick up about 3 of those penalty yards back. So 2nd down and 12 here for the Wildcats.
Brought down by Rashida Ford. Number 76, Tyler Robertson. 2-yard gain, 2nd down and 13.
And I'll say this, Alex, as we're watching this game progress, Baltimore is learning that you're not going to stop Gordon with 1 tackler. It's hard with 2 tacklers. They're going after with 3, 4 tacklers each time she has the ball.
Well, and that's the best part about team defense, too. It's multiple hats on the ball carrier and being aware of where that running back is at all times. Creating one opportunity to miss a person, that's great, but being able to have somebody that's backing you up is important. Gordon is going to get her yards. We've seen the greatest running backs of all time do that consistently game in and game out. But if you can get a limited amount of lanes and a limited amount of yards to be gained, that's a good defensive day. And Baltimore, in my opinion, should be happy with how they've stopped Gordon today.
Vic, the ball carrier on that last possession, this time is going to be snapped up. Gates is going to hand it off to Gordon. Gordon's going to spin to her left, going to get back into the middle of the original chain. It's going to be 4th down and 5, a long 5.
Gordon bounces off some tacklers.
And the biggest thing we're noticing, Alex, is the amount of time that the Wildcats are taking off the scoreboard with this drive.
Well, and I mean, that's just it. I mean, this quarter has flown by. We said in the first quarter where the game possession and game management for Salt Lake, now the lead has been great because they're running time and they're keeping the drive alive.
Gates passes to her left. This one is going to be complete, and what a grab out of the air. Great job by Gina Mondrag in readjusting where she was and coming down with that ball.
Well, you can see, too, on this play, Brian, that waiting for this ball to find her hands is Jasmine Ward. She makes a good first adjustment, makes a good second adjustment on it, jumps up for it, but Mondragon wins that 50-50 battle, and the drive and the clock continues to burn.
Fresh set of downs, 1st and 10 from Baltimore's 23-yard line. Snap is up. And this time they tricked me even, Alex. They ran to the left. I was watching the runner to the right, and Gordon, she's everywhere.
Well, and that's part of why Salt Lake is such a good second-half team. We're seeing these plays that Salt Lake doesn't show in the first half. They are really expanding their playbook after that 15-minute, 18-minute, 20-minute halftime period.
7 yards on that carry for Sam Gordon of the Wildcats. 2nd down and 3. Laura Gates takes the snap, going to keep it herself, going to break to the right. There is a flag on the play, thrown into the backfield. Probably going to be an illegal formation again after we had almost a penalty-free first half. This 3rd quarter, we're up to 4 flags already.
Well, and the intent there for Gates, too, is you want to be able to create opportunities where you have that quarterback option where you can either keep it yourself, you can hand it off to any of a number of running back or receivers that you have. And it, again, to the credit of Salt Lake, it has worked, and it's worked well today.
Officials are getting together.
Illegal motion on the offense. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat 2nd down.
So it is going to push them back instead of second and 3. It's going to be 2nd and 8 from the 21-yard line. Minute 28 remaining here in the third quarter of this game. And right now, if you're Salt Lake Wildcats, you're okay with taking that penalty because the clock's going to run. You're going to keep taking off time. The play clock resets. And you've got Baltimore where you want them.
Well, and sometimes it's not the worst decision ever to take a penalty if it keeps the clock running.
And this time Gates is going to keep the ball herself, and we have another flag on the play.
And this will be another illegal motion against Salt Lake because the players were not set ready to begin that play. This is not the Canadian Football League. The receivers cannot be in motion when the snap happens. You have to be set and ready to go, and that just wasn't what happened here.
So pushing them back 5 more yards. It's going to be 2nd down and 13. Ball on Baltimore's 26-yard line. Under a minute to go in the third quarter. Women's Football Alliance Division II National Championship game. Gates takes the snap, throws it to her right. Pass is complete to Gordon. Gordon breaks a couple tackles, and she gets ran over from the backside by Anderson of the Nighthawks.
And what's nice to see again is how Salt Lake has really opened up that playbook. One pass in the first half of play, now a ton here in the second half, really showing that there's two sides of Salt Lake. There's what lulls you to sleep in the first half, and then what puts you to sleep permanently in the second half.
And that play there gave them 3rd and a long 1, which was a great job picking up after losing 10 yards in back-to-back penalties. And Gordon's going to get through, and she's going to pick up the first down for the Wildcats.
First down and goal.
And that is going to bring us to the end of the third quarter already. Seems like that quarter just flew by. It's the Women's Football Alliance Division II National Championship game. Salt Lake Wildcats are currently up over the Baltimore Nighthawks by a score of 13-0. We'll be back for the fourth quarter right after this. The Aid Nation WFA National Championship is powered by edX. And your national championship game is brought to you by Aid Nation, the official sports drink of the Women's Football Alliance. Welcome back. It's going to be an exciting fourth quarter here in the Division II National Championship game, where we currently have the Salt Lake Wildcats up over the Baltimore Nighthawks 13-0, and they wasted no time. They wanted to get this fourth quarter going, Alex.
Well, and they feel like this is the opportunity for a put-away drive. You know, if you're Baltimore, you look at the scoreline, you say 13-0, you like where that's at, but Baltimore hasn't been able to put the ball in the end zone. That's why the zero's on the scoreboard. And eventually those points need to start being on the board for Baltimore, and this could be it.
So quick little carry there by Gordon. Going to bring up 3rd down and goal from the 6 for the Wildcats. Alex, we've seen a little of everything so far this game from the Wildcats offense.
Well, and what I expect here, it's a 4-down territory, and I expect run on both of these plays to keep the clock running, and it's their bread and butter.
This time it's going to be handed off to Lampright. Lampright's going to get up another couple yards there, and it is going to bring up 4th down as she gets up to the 2-yard line.
And really for Salt Lake, 3 drives in this game, Brian. Double-digit plays ran. This one now upcoming, this is going to be their 18th play of this drive. Incredible game management by Salt Lake in the 3rd and 4th quarter.
Fourth down and goal from the 2. Handoff in the backfield, and she is going to be stopped. Nowhere to go. Gates is not going to find the end zone as she is stopped by Aji Anderson of the Baltimore Nighthawks, and Baltimore will take over on downs.
And also, why you're not afraid of the run there, even if you get stopped, you still force Baltimore to go the entire length of the football field. The ball will be spotted on their own 2. The opening drive, Brian, Baltimore went from their own 6 and then had an interception that turned over the opening drive of the game. This is a good defensive spot for Salt Lake to be in, but again, how do they manage the fatigue that's gone through for the first 3 quarters of this game?
Well, we're going to see what Lauren Vitak and the Nighthawks can do here. 1st and 10 from their own 2-yard line. And they're going to start off with a timeout, Alex.
And it's similar to the first timeout that they took in the first drive of the game, where this is an opportunity where, for Baltimore, you still have the ability to make this a 1-score game again. And everything on this drive for Baltimore, you're running out of time to have errors. You're running out of time to not get the plays to go your way. And everything for the Nighthawks on this drive, up and down, needs to be perfect. Maybe if you're Baltimore and if you're the Nighthawks and your offensive coordinator for Baltimore, Raymond Eidelman, you look across at the other side and see what Shane Burns, the defensive coordinator for Salt Lake, is giving you. And you say, well, this is what I see. How can I adjust into my attacking plan for how I want to go against this defense? We've seen it with the run game for Baltimore, where they've run the ball with proficiency all game long, trying to tire out Salt Lake. In this position, though, you have to be careful because Salt Lake can get good pressure and force a safety.
Of course, we want to congratulate the Richmond Black Widows, their 25-7 victory over the Oklahoma Rage in the Division III championship earlier this afternoon. Vitak takes the handoff, hands it off to Elston. Elston gets up a few yards. Correction, not Elston. That was Ross, the ball carrier. So at least now they're a little bit manageable. She gets up to the 6-yard line here.
Well, and still creating enough breathing room, too, where you're not starting your play. If you're Vitak out of the shotgun, you don't want to be starting a play consistently out in the footsteps of your own end zone. And so just giving yourself that little more space. You still have a long way to go to find pay dirt, but still giving yourself that breathing room. So pivotal for an offense.
Clock continues to tick. Right now, the clock is Baltimore's biggest enemy on that field, even though Sam Gordon is on there. This time, the ball's handed off to Ross. Ross, big hole up the middle, gets a few blocks. She's up to the 25-yard line, picks up an all-important first down for the Nighthawks.
We've seen big pass plays from Baltimore this evening. We haven't seen a big run play until now. And Ross, to her credit, 1 off, 2 off, and gets back into the secondary. Well run by Ross to be able to continue to move the Nighthawks down the field.
Ross lines up in the backfield again against Vitak. Snap is up. Vitak drops back. She's throwing it to her right. This pass is complete to Harris. Harris is going to pick up an important 8 yards. And now that's a name we have not said yet this game. It's the first time that Harris has been the intended receiver.
Well, Kelsey Harris in the regular season, 2 receptions for 34 yards, but averaging that 17 and a long of 24. You think about being able to expand your playbook. We've seen Salt Lake do it in this half, and now Baltimore's starting to do it in their own right.
2nd down and 4. Officially, they say it was 6 yards on the reception. Ross next to Vitak. Movement on the line. Flag is thrown. False start, Baltimore.
Number 78 on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 2nd down.
And little mental miscues Baltimore cannot afford at this time, especially when everything on this drive so far has worked so well for you.
So it's going to push him back. 2nd down and 9 from their own 27. Started this drive on their 2-yard line. Vitak, low snap. She's going to throw it up the middle. This one is going to be caught. What a catch by Pellegrini, and there's a flag on the play as well.
And this is a dangerous pass thrown by Vitak. Trying to fire this right into the perfect spot, knowing that that safety is sitting high over the top.
Defensive pass interference, number 15 on the defense. That penalty will be enforced at the spot of the foul. automatic first down.
And so just a dangerous pass to be made. And Vitak, again, the line has given her a ton of time, and she throws it in there. Big, dangerous play. And Pellegrini doesn't hold on to the ball, but instead, still a first down.
So 1st and 10 from the 40 for the Nighthawks. 10:52 remaining in the fourth quarter, looking to find the end zone for the first time this game. Pass complete to Ziobro. She's going to pick up a quick 5 yards, going to bring up a 3rd down and 5. 2nd down and 5. No huddle offense going.
And I would love to see Baltimore really work that tempo here.
Another time, Ziobro again. She's going to pick up the first down. 2 little quick 5-yard nuggets thrown to Ziobro. Moves the chains for Baltimore.
And it was said best, too. We were talking with quarterbacks in the hotel lobby last night that if you continue to force a team to coach themselves on your field, don't give them the chance to set up and read how you're setting up offensively.
Vitak, another quick pass, this time to her right, and it's another completion, this time to Bates, and it's another 8 yards for Baltimore.
And it's that quickness that Baltimore is starting to cut like a Nighthawk through the Baltimore air, just continuing to work so well in these short little quick hitter passes. Excellent offensive flow by the Nighthawks here.
Nighthawks moving easily down the field with this drive. There is a flag on this play. This one was intended for Ziobro, goes incomplete. See what the call is on the field.
Sideline warning, Salt Lake.
All right, so not really a penalty as much as it was a warning to Salt Lake. Their coaching staff is getting a little into the area there where they're not allowed to be, and you can see the side judge there, the line judge there, letting them know this is my space.
And you'll see some teams have specific players or persons who are designated to keep coaches out of that referee's area.
The get back people. Vitak takes the snap. She airs it up high. That time it's in and out of the hands of Bates, and Bates jumped quite high for that one. It's going to bring up a 4th and manageable for Baltimore.
And here I think with the success that you've had, you can think about going back to the ground game here. Vitak has been slinging the ball well. Dangerous pass there. Archuleta's right there in coverage. Baltimore looking on the far side for some sort of a flag, but really just a good 50-50 ball. And I like how the officials tonight, in the exception of the procedural penalties, I like how they've let the players decide the outcome of the game.
Timeout is going to be called by Baltimore on this 4th down. They know they need to get a first down here. They have to keep this drive alive as we have 9:35 remaining in this Division II National Championship game, and they're trailing by 13.
Well, and you think about it too. Yes, you need to get the offensive execution, but you also have to figure that if you get a touchdown here, if you put points on the board, you have a timeout against a team in Salt Lake that runs the ball a lot, and that works in their favor in this game situation. We said on Road to Champions this week, Salt Lake is a team that is not only a second half team, but also a team that puts teams away, and that's what good ground games do. They put teams away in winning time situations.
What is Baltimore going to do coming out of this timeout, leaving them with 1 remaining for the rest of this championship game? The huddle is broke. Vitak for receivers. Alston in the backfield. Gonna keep it herself, and Vitak's gonna lunge forward and pick up the first down.
Vitak picks it up and converts, but so close. Salt Lake had a player down on the ground holding on to her ankle. So close was the defender in Putnam for Salt Lake to be able to stop that and get the turnover on downs, but Baltimore stays alive.
Fresh set of downs, 1st and 10. Ball on the 37-yard line. Vitak throws it in the middle. This one is going to be a great catch. Great catch by Bates in the center of the field there. Another first down for Baltimore. Moves the chains. Clock continues to run. They hurry up to the line of scrimmage.
And Bates making that adjustment to a couple of drops in the first half, but really sure-handed here in the second.
Two receivers to her left. Going to throw to her right. This one is behind. It's going to be called incomplete. This time Bates wasn't able to pull it in.
But still, the clock stops. And for a team now in Baltimore with a timeout remaining, you're okay with the clock stopping here halfway home into this fourth quarter. You're okay with the clock stopping. You can slow down a little bit too and make sure your plays are ready to go against the Salt Lake defense.
Harris, Ross, Ziobro, Pellegrini. What a great offensive tandem you have there, getting their play from Lauren Vitak. Snap is up. Vitak to her right again. Once again intended for Bates. Great coverage that time by the Nighthawks. And just like that, Alex, it's 3rd down and 10.
And you don't need all 10 yards here. You need 5. You'd like 5. You can settle for 4, but you don't need to go for all 10 here on 3rd down. You're in 4-down territory if you're Baltimore for the rest of this game.
Once again, the clock stops. 8:29 remaining here in the 4th quarter. Baltimore needs to find the end zone twice. Keep Salt Lake out if they want a chance of winning the Division II National Championship game. Ziobro in motion. Vitak throws it up into the air. Gonna fall short. Bates, the intended receiver, once again. Great coverage. That time by Mondragon of the Wildcats.
Good ball by Vitak. Good route by Bates. Great defense by Salt Lake. Just enough of the hand by Mondragon to affect how Bates sees it. No contact there, so no flag needed, but you still have just enough to obscure the vision of the ball, and great secondary play by Salt Lake.
4th down and 10. Snap is up. This time Vitak's going to her left, and it's going to be too far. Too far in front of Pellegrini. So Salt Lake's going to take over on downs here with 8:17 remaining in the 4th quarter.
And you can see how Vitak wanted to attack on that corner route. But unfortunately for Baltimore and unfortunately for Vitak, miscommunication on the route and just enough of a late break that by the time Pellegrini cuts back out to the outside, the ball is all over her head. And now for a Baltimore team, like on their first drive, Brian, that started deep in their own territory, they get close, but not close enough.
$13-0, 8:17 remaining here in the 4th quarter. Laura Gates and her Salt Lake Wildcats take the snap. Pitches it behind her. Finds a hole up the right-hand side. Loses the ball. The ball is going to be cut loose. Who's going to get on top of it? It looks like Anderson of Baltimore. No official call yet. And there it is. Aji Anderson and Brewer come up with the big fumble for the Nighthawks and keep their game hopes alive.
I say it doing Division I baseball, I say it in football. Football is a game of momentum. And yes, you could have had it on a 4th down stop, but for Baltimore immediately realizing that they have to go, trying to go for the strip, they do so. And now this crowd here in Canton, Ohio appears to be on their side with that big turnover. But for Baltimore, again, it needs to start turning into points because you're running out of time.
Brianna Brewer with a great job stripping that ball. And right away, Vitak goes back to what was working good for her on the last drive with a quick little slant route to Leanne Ziobro. picks up 5 yards on that first down play.
And so here we go with the no huddle and the quick tempo once more for Baltimore. Keep Salt Lake on their heels, keep them moving back.
2nd down and 5. Vitak looks to her left. This one's going to be a little bit high. Intended for Harris. Clock's going to stop. 3rd down. I mean, Alex, you look at that fumble recovery there, forced by Brewer and picked up by Anderson. The timing of that, when it happened, where it happened on the field, everything went right for Baltimore there.
And the second time in this game, Brian, that a Baltimore turnover has been followed by a Salt Lake turnover.
Back-to-back interceptions a little bit earlier. This time was a turnover on downs, and there's an interception that time. And this one is going to be run for quite some distance as she cuts back her left-hand side, escapes a few tackles, and finally she gets dragged down. Victoria Archuleta for the Wildcats with a big-time interception.
Archuleta's a name we've called in the secondary all day. Look at the eyes on the ball. Look at the great pursuit. Perfect secondary play by Victoria Archuleta, reading that ball all the way into her hands. Did not have an interception for the Wildcats prior to this moment this season, and it may be the biggest one of Salt Lake's year.
So just as we finished talking about how the momentum had swung in the Nighthawks' direction, that interception there puts the Wildcats back up into better position than they would have been had they not fumbled that ball. Gates takes the snap, hands it off. Once again to Gordon. Gordon's going to pick up a few yards, keep the clock running.
And one thing that we haven't said tonight about Gates, 21 years of age, West Jordan, Utah, has one of the most refined professional quarterback cadences that you can hear. You can see both sides of the Baltimore defensive line jumping on that cadence. It is so polished. It is so good. Spectacular to see and hear.
This time she takes the ball, throws it back to Gordon. Gordon cuts to her left, cuts back to her right. Going to pick up a first down. And you were talking pregame, Alex, that you were down on the field during warm-ups. And Gates' cadence was so loud that you could hear it over the in-stadium music.
And that's what you need from your quarterback. Yes, in some broadcasts you have field-level mics that make it easier to pick up, but in others you don't hear that quarterback. Gates is loud and she's good at what she does, especially in these winning time moments where she can try to get players to jump offside or just be the leader that the team needs.
Leader, owner, quarterback, she's doing it all today as Vic is the ball carrier this time. Going to bring up 4th down and 1 as the clock continues to tick away. Gates going to call her own number. Going to give her forward progress. She's going to pick up another first down. Keep the clock running for the Wildcats.
And thinking about the timing here that's left for Baltimore. This is where having just that one timeout. Yes, you needed to take the timeouts to make sure you had all your offensive ducks in a row. But in this case, this is where not having all 3 timeouts hurt you. You do get the 2-minute timeout. But eventually, this team that continues to run the ball, continues to put teams away, you need another fumble to maybe work in your favor.
Short little handoff, pick up of 4 yards.
Driven to the turf by Rashida Ford. Game of 4, 2nd down and 6.
2nd down and 6.
And this is where Gates, a 2-time MVP at quarterback in another league, is very aware of the location of the play clock and winding it down as far as she can just to continue to eat this clock.
And when you can do it as successfully as they're doing it right now, Alex, all these quick little push from the backfield, run up the middle, you're clogging the interior artery of the line, and your clock just won't stop. The only way it would stop is if you fumble the ball and it's picked up by the other team.
And Baltimore has done a really good job tonight when the defense has to be spread out against Salt Lake when they spread their offense out. But now that everybody's in on close, the youth of Salt Lake really starting to prove a factor here, where yes, there's fatigue on both sides, but that youth for Salt Lake, most of these players with a birth year in the 2000s, that's where that youth is starting to show up.
3rd down and 1. Handoff. 1st down. And Vic once again wants to show everybody, yeah, we're going that way. Move the chains for us.
And it's good to see because it's so anti-theoretical to what you expect football to be now. But this is a team in Salt Lake that all year long, when you expect football teams at all levels now to pass the football, be a pass-heavy offense, Salt Lake has done all this running the football. The numbers are gaudy. The rushing yards per game, first in Division II with 303 rushing yards. Incredible. And I imagine at the pro level, it's going to find a hard time for defenses to stop.
Gates throws the ball back to Lampright. Lampright up on the left-hand side, gets a couple blocks and does what they've been doing all game right now, and that's 5-yard chunks, 5-yard chunks.
I would be curious, too, if you're Baltimore, just about with where the game's at. If you're trying to get that ball back as quickly as you can, do you think about maybe letting a score happen here? Or does Salt Lake, recognizing that, just continue to run right at the pile and go down?
Elena Rozier from the Nighthawks, slow to get up on the field over there. So officials timeout on the field. And so Alex, let's go back here. You've been calling the games here since 2022. You missed the first year here. And in the past, we've seen the Division III winner move up to Division II, and then that Division II winner was the champion once again and move up to the pro. We've seen it with New York, we've seen it with Nevada, and what can we expect here when the Division III winner earlier today of Richmond, how do you think they'll fare next year at this level when you're watching this game in front of us?
Well, looking at what Richmond did today, it was their defense that was really the star of the show. The defense, I think, was excellent. But when you look at, especially in the East, in the National Conference, a crowded Division II National Conference, Cincinnati, Atlanta, New York knockout. That's a very tough conference to get out of.
And then you have a team like Salt Lake here, enters the league as a Division II team. So they've already thrown off the fact that last year, Division III winner didn't even make it to the national championship this season.
And you're the #1 team in the Massey ratings for a reason, right? I think we all looked at that and said, well, this Salt Lake team, there's something going on. And now, having been able to see it for a full 60 minutes, this team's pro ready.
Gordon up the middle, gonna pick up another 1st down. 6 yards on that carry, gonna make it 1st and goal from about the 8, maybe the 9-yard line.
And we've said it before, Brian, as we approach the 2-minute timeout, that yes, this team does not have the depth that some do, but it has the youth. And youth has gone wild here in Canton, Ohio. And even at the pro level, that youth and that experience can be pivotal for Salt Lake as they look to move up.
And that carry right there, Alex, is going to take us. Laura Gates keeps the ball herself, and that's going to take us to the 2-minute timeout here in the 4th quarter. And there's a lot going on with the Women's Football Alliance this weekend. Earlier today, we had flag tournaments going on. Tomorrow, before the Pro Division National Championship game, will be the flag championship game right here at this stadium. Your thoughts on how the flag program can contribute to the tackle program?
Well, and a really good showing expected for that flag championship. Pittsburgh, Callie War, the offensive player of the year, the league MVP of the year, Brianna Barrett, on the roster for Callie. You can watch that tomorrow on the Women's Football Alliance YouTube channel, starting right at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. But flag seems to be the way of the future for the game of football. We love tackle football. That's why we're here right now. That's why Donna and Matt were here earlier today. That's why the thousands of people in Canton, Ohio are here. I mean, there's a shrine off in the distance to the game of tackle football. And the game has evolved since its beginning, since its outset in the founding of the National Football League here. And flag seems to be the next level of that evolution because it's safer. Everybody plays. Everybody can play. The emphasis is on skill and speed. And there's so much athleticism that is required. And I think that if I'm a parent of a young kid and I got an 18-month-old at home, would I rather have my kid play tackle football? Well, maybe. But would I rather have him play flag? Absolutely. Because it's safe. Because, yeah, there'll be collisions on the field, but it's part of the game, and it's not something that collisions are expected every play. And I think that's the important thing moving forward, because you develop that talent in the flag and you say, well, you want to take a chance with the helmets? You want to take a chance with the big gridiron and the pads? Go for it. Because that skill develops at flag, and then it can be shown here again with the pads on.
Salt Lake Wildcats up over the Baltimore Nighthawks 13-0. 1:56 remaining here, and a little trick handoff in the backfield that time as Gates hands it off to Gordon, and she doesn't get very far, but keeps the clock running as it continues to tick away. And you look down, you can see the Wildcats standing there on their sideline. They're at the edge of that box that they're allowed to travel to because they're getting ready to celebrate, even though there's still a full 90 seconds left in this game, and it's a 3rd down and 6 situation right now.
Well, and goal to goal, there will be 2 more plays, regardless what happens for Salt Lake here in this game.
Gates going to keep it. She's going to cut through. She's going to escape a tackle, and in for the touchdown is the owner of the Salt Lake Wildcats, Laura Gates.
And in a play that you're thinking that you're going to see the run up the middle, it's a quarterback draw. Gates sets up, ready to throw the ball. Then she tucks it down and runs as the defense for Baltimore spreads open to give her that perfect lane to run through. And it may be championship time for the Salt Lake Wildcats in their first season in the WFA.
Crazy to think about. You talk about how young the players were on this team, the fact that so many of them, never suited up before this season as that point after attempt fails there for him. And, looks like we got a Nighthawk player. Nope. Looks like she is injured there.
But again, it goes to show, Brian, that football is a game where athletes come to play. Perhaps more so than arguably any other, where if you have the athletic talent and if you have the ability to learn, and that's the critical thing. We were talking with players today out at the flag football demonstrations. Commissioner Lisa King was a wide receiver today for the Cali War team who'll be playing out on the field tomorrow. And there's some really exciting things where if you're an athlete and if you have the ability to learn and adapt to a new position, well, guess what? You got a spot on the football team.
19-0, your current score. The Salt Lake Wildcats up over the Baltimore Nighthawks. Minute 13 remaining. Alex Wested, the most elite voice in women's football. I'm Brian Sweeney. Susie Cool, excuse me. It's cold out there now. What can I say?
It could be now, yeah. It's
Susie
nighttime.
Cool down on the sidelines. We are having an absolute blast bringing you this Division II championship game there. And Jaquia Alston for the Nighthawks on the run back there after that kickoff. And Alex, we talk every year about the things to do in Canton besides just coming here. Last year we had a great breakfast at a winery. And of course, you mentioned a little bit earlier, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's coming up just here in a couple weeks, and what a class they have going into it. But the biggest thing is after tomorrow's pro game, there'll be a women's jersey going into that hall again for the next 12 months.
Well, in this past season, it was Carrie McMahon of the St. Louis Slam. And, I went through the Hall of Fame when I got here on Wednesday, and it's so amazing to see the role that women have played in professional football and how that role has evolved over the years. Not just being an official, like Sarah Thomas being the first to be an official at the NFL level, but it goes more into the playing and being able to grow the game in that playing aspect. Likewise, here in Canton, Ohio, Sean Gates may want to be careful of the Aid Nation bath that is very rapidly coming his way.
The cooler has already made its way off. It looks like 2 coolers have made their way off the table there. And as Baltimore and Lauren Vitak, the quarterback there, is on the field, hoping to get her team into the end zone and prevent them from being shut out. There was only 1 touchdown scored by Oklahoma in the Division III game. They ended up not winning that game, and Baltimore wants to at least get something on the board so they have a moral victory here in this game as well.
Well, in Baltimore, we've said all season long, especially in the postseason on Road to Champions, this is a team that for so long has been looking to get over the hump. The 8 wins this season for the Nighthawks, the most in franchise history, the first undefeated season in franchise history, the first conference championship in franchise history, and they have to be happy with how they played this game. They didn't come up and have everything in their way. They didn't put the ball into the end zone. But if I look at this game and I say I held the top offense to 19 points, I have to be happy with that, even if it's in a losing effort.
And you look at some of the wins they had over the season on strong teams such as the Atlanta Rage, the West Palm Beach Coyotes, and the Cincinnati Cougars. Dominant teams at the Division II level that Baltimore was easily able to take care of.
And I would be curious too, again, we talked about on Road to Champions, Salt Lake probably should have been moved up already at the end of this season. Well, now what do you do with Baltimore? You know, Baltimore, again, last season 4-3, the year before 5-3, the year before that 4-4, in that middle of that conference finality. Do you give them another season at Division II? Do you give them another chance?
Great throw up into the air there by Vitak, and coming down with it is Tanya Bates moving the chain. Pellegrini with a great catch before that play while we were chatting. But Baltimore, they heard me talking. They want to find the end zone before this game ends. So it's going to be a fresh set of downs. 1st and 10 from the 14. Vitak throws it up the middle. And it's not quite there for Pellegrini to pull it in.
Well, Shane Burns, defensive coordinator for Salt Lake, looking for that shutout. They had 3 this season in a 3-game streak, including 2 games over Wasatch, 1 over River City, where they outscored the opposition in that game and in that series of games by a grand total of 190 points in those 3 games. So you're looking for that donut, you're looking for that bagel here. It just takes about 19 seconds to see if that's realized or not.
Well, Lauren Vitak's going to do everything in her power not to let that donut go. As she throws it up the middle. And this time it's the Obro who's not able to pull it in. So just like that, it's 3rd down and 10, 14 seconds remaining, Alex.
And there are some times, Brian, where we see games where it's clear that one team is better than the other. I don't think tonight, and, you know, the stats that I have, the stats that I've been keeping, I don't think truly represent that either. These teams have been about as evenly matched as it could come. It was just a difference of turnovers in untimely fashion for a Baltimore team that moved up and down the field just fine, but just couldn't put the ball in the end zone, maybe until now.
Vitak. Ziobro in motion. Takes the snap. Gonna throw it to her left. Incomplete, intended again for Pellegrini. 1 shot left, Alex. 8 seconds remaining.
4th down.
And Vitak, interceptions aside, has had a great game. You know, we talk about a goalkeeper from soccer maybe not being the prototypical quarterback mold, but what is in that mold? Leadership. Seeing the whole field, navigating a team from the defensive side to the offensive side, and certainly for Vitak, the league's leader in passing yards in Division II this season, you have to be, again, happy, disappointed with the result tonight, but happy with what Baltimore has done this season.
Vitak takes the snap, throws it, and it's going to be out of the hands too far in front of Bates. 3 seconds remaining, Salt Lake to take over on downs.
And again, what else can be said about Salt Lake? We haven't already. It's a team that had a first half offensive structure that immediately changed it in the second half. And as a defensive coordinator, as somebody who's trying to prevent them from scoring, that is incredibly frustrating to have to game plan against because it is so difficult to play. And playing out of the West next year, playing out of the American Conference at the WFA Pro level, St. Louis, Cali, Mile High, Nevada, Minnesota, Nebraska better be on notice for these Salt Lake Wildcats.
Laura Gates, victory formation, takes the knee. Clock hits 0, and the Salt Lake Wildcats are your Division II national champions.
The Wildcats are your 2025 WFA Division II national champions.
A team that in April, we didn't know what we were going to see. We do know now the Salt Lake Wildcats champions, their 4th shutout, and a team that defied all the odds, defied all the expectations, and was dominant. Tonight winning, not necessarily in the fashion that they had throughout 2025, but able to do so when it came down to it the most. And this is a team that not just a threat here in 2025 at Division II, but as they move up to the WFA Pro and as they move up to the top flight of this league, this is going to be a fun team to watch for the next handful of years. A young team with a very bright future. 1 star already shining tonight.
1 star definitely. I mean, we talked about it all game, how Sam Gordon is a leader, not in the quarterback position. But then you look at Gates, an exceptional leader, controlling the ball, controlling the momentum of this championship game.
Well, an exceptional quarterback and an exceptional secondary player as well. The 2 big interceptions that she had tonight, and yeah, she made an interception on her first attempt in the first half. But then the second half came around, and Coach Gates said it at the halftime conversation. It's a team that's a second half team. They maybe not put as many points on the board as they're used to doing in the second half, but you look for your leaders to step up. Gordon was one of those, Gates with another. But you could go down that entire roster, especially with the way the offensive line for Salt Lake did a great job of creating holes in space for Gordon and all the other running backs to run through. A complete team effort on offense, all the way up from 1 to 99.
You know, when you talk about Gates throwing that interception, let's not forget, she caught an interception as well. And Susie Cool is down there with our player of the game. Susie.
Thanks, Brian. We have Laura Gates here with our player of the game. Very well-deserved win here today, 19-0 over Baltimore. Where was this defense locked in the most today?
It was absolutely about pass game. Everything was just to lock down the pass, and their top 2 players. We know that's where they dominate. We know that if we shut that down that we can be successful, so that's what we practiced this entire time leading up to that game, was just stopping the pass.
First season, and you're already national champions. How did this come about? At what point did you realize that this could be a thing?
Oh my gosh. I would say since forever ago. The Girls League has contributed hugely to this and the success of this. We've been breeding athletes in women's football since they were 7 years old. Everybody on our team except for 2 has played in that league and graduated. They are true alumni. That experience is everything. There's these brand new teams, they come in, yes, they have the coaching, they don't have that experience. You can't dominate like that. These girls are smart in football, they're athletic. This is entirely, it contributes to the Utah Girls Tackle Football League. And that's what made this so successful, is bringing these girls together and creating that. And that's why we were so successful in our first year.
What do you think this championship will do for the state of Utah in football?
Utah's already a hotbed for women's football. We just want to keep growing that and make sure that it is known that we are a successful state. We're going to keep dominating. I definitely think it'll bring in more people and that awareness that, hey, these girls that you're bringing up and giving them a future in football, we can be successful. And we absolutely show that, being undefeated and now being national champs.
Congrats, Laura.
Thank you so
Go
much.
celebrate with your team.
Thank you so much.
Brian?
Our MVPs of the game are brought to you by Visit Canton. Explore America's playing field. Get the playbook for your vacation online at visitcanton.com. Now let's send it down to the awards presentation and public address announcer Brandon Rossi.
And now, the MVP from the Salt Lake Wildcats is Laura Gates. And now, here to present the championship trophy on behalf of EDX, please welcome Chief Legal Officer Lillian Brownstein and the head of EDX Enterprises, Ryan Patry. As they're here to present the Franco Harris WFA Division II National Championship Trophy to this year's Division II National Champions, the Salt Lake Wildcats!
What a day of football it has been. Division III national championships were crowned. The Division II national championship was just crowned as the Salt Lake Wildcats take down the Baltimore Nighthawks by a final score of 19-0. Any last thoughts, Alex, on this game?
I have a feeling that Salt Lake, again, with the youth and the development program for girls tackle football it has in that state, this is a team that, and this could be a preposterous statement of the year, but this could be a team that's in the conversation with St. Louis and Boston for success in the very near future.
Success in the very near future starts with success right here, July 25th, 2025. What a great, as we look at the highlights from the game. What a game it's been here for the Division II National Championship game in Canton, Ohio at the beautiful Tom Benson Stadium. For Susie Cool down on the sidelines, Alex Wested up here in the booth. I'm Brian Sweeney. We thank you for joining us. We hope to see you right back here next season and tomorrow for the Pro Division National Championship game.